the other person could have, let's say, a red mark or a scratch. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is David Kohlmeier, the Problem Solver. Thanks so much for joining us today. Every single week, I have amazing people on the Problem Solver show in order to help people solve their problems, whether they're an attorney, whether they're a community leader, a business consultant, doctor, whoever it may be that's solving problems in the community. I'm bringing them on the show to help solve problems. I can't solve it all, but I can have other problem solvers help me. Today, basically, we're going to have some amazing people talking about, growing their business, their brand, how to basically go to the next level, especially when it comes down to, growing your business, kind of after COVID, or we're in COVID right now, but how do we basically take it to the next level? As usual, I'm available every single day, 7 days a week, 24/7 for anyone that has any problems. I can be reached at 702-400-7474. You can text and call any single time. Also have the Progressive web app, which is the problemsolver.vegas. They can go on any single time if you have a problem. There's different resources. Again, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're listening audio-wise or video. Thank you for joining the Problem Solver. Again, I'm a retired police officer of 17 years helping people. Today, basically, I have some amazing guests here today from Executive Brand Growth.
Hey.
There you go.
Pew, 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 pew. I usually have like a little buzzer.
Engineer.
Got it. We make some sounds. It's okay.
Bam.
Do what you got to do here. It's okay. It's the Problem Solver. You X-rated. Go for it. So anyway, we have John Mediana, and basically who's the CEO and founder of Executive Brand Growth.
That's correct.
And then we have DJ Acevedo, which is an amazing name, DJ Acevedo.
Appreciate it.
And basically the chief brand strategist for Executive Brand Growth.
That's it.
So thanks so much for joining you guys today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
So as I prepped you guys a little bit before you came to the show, my goal as a retired cop is basically to help people. I get phone calls all the time for different things. People get arrested, they get into an accident, their business isn't doing well, and I basically just try to help them, refer them to the right resources. I don't charge any money for basically my services. Basically, I'm just trying to help people as a retired police officer paying it forward. But right now, basically, I'm getting a lot of phone calls. Like I literally, we have an event basically going on later today, and some businesses are telling me that basically they're not doing so good. Pre-COVID things were better. Mm-hmm. I was asking for some silent auction items, and they're like, I can't really afford it, in general. And I don't really know their financial situation personally. I think they can afford it, but the bottom line is that people, it's a change of times.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on right now. I heard yesterday that you can get your 4th shot now of basically for COVID, right? Who knows, it'll be 5th shot, 10th shot, Mm-hmm. So, but basically businesses are coming back. I mean, I drive around the community in Las Vegas, and basically, the parking lots are filled. I can't get a spot. So, I mean, people are in stores and shopping. But I wanted to bring on you guys because you basically work on growing different brands and businesses.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you don't mind, John, tell us how you became the CEO and founder of Executive Brand Growth.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to be here and chatting it up. And this is one of our favorite conversations to ever have every single day is how, like, what about brand growth? What's the future of business? What is the future of marketing? And like, how does this all play in our business model? And what should we be looking out for in the model that we're doing now in our marketing and all that stuff? So how I got involved is I'm born and raised in LA, grew up in a very I grew up in a Filipino home, and right, so that means that I was destined to be a male nurse or a mailman, right, as a career choice. Yeah. And it just didn't jive well with me when I was growing up. I was like, I think there's more to life than just a government job, which, by the way, thank you for your service. Mm-hmm. But for me, I was like, man, I just don't believe that it's just like a 9-to-5 job, and then you retire and you die, and then that's it, and that nothing happens. I believe that there was more impact to be created between the two numbers on your what's called your deathbed, right? The day you were born and the day you died. That little dash has a little bit of in there that's about creating impact and utilizing everything that you've been designed to do. And I felt like since day one, I've been designed to have like a creative mind and to just work with my hands and also solve problems, right? And that creativity kind of just flourished. I definitely loved growing up in LA, the skateboarding scene. I grew up in the 90s. You know, I'm a late 80s kid, but I love skateboarding. I love music. I love like the industry. I love filmmaking. This is like before we had YouTube and all that stuff. I grew up like, you know, processing film in the dark room and picking up a VHS JVC camcorder and filming my friends that were all like semi-pro skateboarders and just like creating something and watching it and be like, whoa, that was so cool. Like that inspired other people to pick up a skateboard or to pick up a guitar or to, you know, I grew up in the music scene and that kind of culture. And that was so opposite of the way that I was raised. Like all my cousins were like, I'm going to be a lawyer. Like they already knew. They're like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm like, I don't know what I want to be yet. And is that okay? Like, so I felt like the black sheep, you know, I felt like, you know, the one that was like,
how dare you not become a male Filipino nurse?
How dare you not become a male nurse? No, but it was a challenge. And I took that and I learned and I was like, man, I really love bringing joy to people through film and photography, but also creating an emotion that you would never. And then the internet came, right? We started with DSLR and like, I'm not DSLR, dial-up. Oh my goodness, landlines and stuff like that. But like it took like 15 minutes to get online and to send an email and stuff. But I was like, oh, this connects me to people around the world. And then we started, you know, back in the day you would do pen pals, but now you like with the internet, you're like AIM, oh, Friendster, oh, like MySpace came. And then I was like, what? Oh, MySpace is rad because it's integrating music and like your online, like I would used to create EPKs and stuff. But at a young age, I was 11, 12, 13, learning how to code and how to create like Photoshop, how to dive in and how to use the things that I've learned in the dark room and how to tell a story with visualizations. But that sparked a whole like trajectory of my life of like, oh, this is marketing. This is rad. I could reach people. I could actually tell people about businesses. Like my dad, he owned his own small machine. It was like a 700 square foot machine shop when I was like 9 years old. And he would teach me, he's like, marketing is really important because if no one knows that you exist, you can't make money if no one knows you exist. And that statement is still true today. So when the pandemic happened, right, a lot of businesses were freaking out. Not only were they unsure of where everything was going to go, if their business is going to survive or not, but they were like, I don't have money to spend on marketing. I'm just going to try to do whatever. I'm like, wow, it's like having a vehicle and not putting gas in it because you're not going to go anywhere if you don't actually use marketing. And here's the thing, you don't have to actually spend money on marketing. There's a platform called YouTube or Instagram or Facebook that you could use for free. And with strategies and tactics that will actually, we call it organic. So there's two types of marketing that we talk about a lot is organic and paid marketing. But organically, you could grow a brand and bring attention and traffic to your brand. So long story short, after all that, I wanted to go to film school. So I did art school for 6 years. And then simultaneously, I was working in the industry. I started directing music videos and commercials. I started directing music videos for Capitol Records, Interscope Records. Being in proximity to LA really got my foot in. I just wanted to learn how to grow my craft and just be the best version of myself in creativity. And I always knew I was going to get better and better and better. So had opportunities. My name started going around and lots of projects and campaigns, you know, I was a part of. And then I got a phone call from Vegas saying like, hey, like we are looking for a creative strategist. We're looking for a content creator to help build a new campaign for Vegas and stuff. And so I was like, well, how much is it? I was just
what's that pay?
Like, what's it pay? You know what I'm saying? This was before pandemic, right? A couple years before.
Who called you for that? Was it like the chamber? Or?
No, so R&R Partners. I don't know if I can say that, but they're the ones that came up with the campaign. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I don't know. It's a small campaign, not that big.
Yeah. No, I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Never heard of it. Yeah. But they're the ones that, you know, partner with LVCVA. They're the ones that actually started LVCVA here in Vegas. And they're the ones that actually market Vegas, the travel market, right? So they run the Vegas Instagram account and all that stuff. Yeah, so long story short, they're like,
so they found out about you and they called you.
Yeah, I had friends that were connected. They're like, John, like there's an open position. You know, you were the first person that we thought, you know, so come and do an interview. So I came out like I literally, it was like getting into Harvard, bro. Like six interviews or something like that. Something crazy.
Did you meet the main guy? I forgot his name. He's retired. What's his name?
Oh, I forget it. Yeah, there's two brothers. There's two people, and then there's.
He was like the main spokesperson for Las Vegas Convention Authority.
Right. Yeah. Hill. What's his name? I forget. Yeah. There's a lot of political people that's tied into the whole LVCVA. So there's a few of them that I probably mentioned or that I probably met. A lot of them are like, man, I don't know if I want to say their names because it'll be crazy.
No, I know I'm familiar with certain things that took place.
Yeah. So long story short, I was like, ooh, that's a good number. Awesome. I'm gonna bring my family out. And then spent the past 3 years rebranding Vegas.
So when you came out here, basically that particular, I think it's a public relations marketing company, right?
Yeah.
They basically hired you to become the creative strategist for the Vegas market, how to bring people to Vegas.
Yeah.
Were you the one that started or involved in that campaign?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
so
great.
that was actually one of our campaigns that I was
No, I
a
love
part
that
of.
campaign.
Yeah. What happens in Vegas only happens in Vegas was a new campaign that we launched. But long story short, so the past 15 years is like I've been spending time building the personal brands of CEOs specifically and seeing the impact that they have on the companies and brands that they build. So you had mentioned the person, the name of the LVCVA. So sometimes you might not even know the brand, but you know the person behind the brand. You're like, oh yeah, I don't really know much about their company, but that person that leads it, yeah, that guy's awesome. Or I've heard more about him than anything else that he does. I don't really know his business, but so it's about the personal brands that drive the companies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's the question. Well, a few things. You jumped on a lot of different topics.
Yes.
First of all, I wanted to say it's kind of interesting. You mentioned Filipino Nurse.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of interesting how we have different ethnic backgrounds that, like, somehow over the years, like, okay, you're a Filipino, like, you need to become a nurse, or our families and still, or, you know, the joke now, like in New York, right, you have to be like Pakistani to be in a taxi cab. But my father, you know, was Jewish and he drove a taxi cab years ago. It was like Russian Jews. Like, it's always these different 7-Elevens a lot of times.
There's a stigmatism behind
But, you know, somehow, you know, I guess people say, oh, come here, and they get connected. They learn the business and they start teaching friends and family, you know? Anyway, the other thing is I've been to the Philippines as well for a few weeks.
What part?
You know, I was dating someone at the time, but basically she lived here, but we went back. And she was from up north, Isabela.
Okay.
And then basically went down to Boracay and we went down to Subic Bay. But it's a beautiful place in general. That's where I learned about Jollibee. And, I think it's like Grimaldi's Pizza or something.
Yeah. How often do you go to Jollibee out here? Because there's one off of Rainbow.
You know, I saw the one closed down over here, and there was one on Fort Apache closed down.
Yeah.
I only went once, I think, after, but you know, it's all over the place in the Philippines, right?
It's like the McDonald's of the Philippines.
Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting, but no, great place and great people.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's funny. So, in regards to the campaign of Vegas, I always like there was one where the guy, like someone's visiting Vegas, and I guess the landscape of the guy, you know, in town's visiting. You know what I'm talking about, that one?
Yeah.
And basically, they wind up in a strip club. And what happens is he sees the other guy, and then I guess he went to go pick up. They both go back to, like, let's say New York, and then he's going there to collect his money from you know, for landscaping, and he raises it by like $500. The guy's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, and he's like, "Look, I saw you in Vegas last week, you know." And the guy just gave him the money and he closed the door. You know, because he saw him at the strip club or something like that, you know? And I thought it was always hilarious, that one particular, you know?
Yeah, most of that was
tied
such
to a Vegas thing.
Yeah, tied to, you know, what happens here only happens, you know, stays here, right?
Stays
so that whole mentality of like...
But, you know, when they jumped over to the second campaign, were you involved in that one too?
That was my baby. Yeah, so the second campaign, which was, by the way, fun fact, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Not all the properties in the Vegas was really for that. Okay. In fact, there was probably like 70-30, right? So a lot of them were like, yeah, that sounds great, but it kind of paints Vegas in a really negative kind of light. So when we were discussing the new campaigns, we're like, you know, what's going to open it up a little bit more? So the new campaign that I was a part of nurturing and creating and leading a creative team with was What Happens in Vegas Only Happens in Vegas. And every single property was like, I love this campaign. It's great. Like, so it was like 100% approval from everybody.
You know, it's interesting because I come with marketing ideas all the time. And I love marketing. And actually, so when I was a cop, I did community policing for about 6 years. I've always been big with vanity phone numbers. So like Crime Stoppers out here, like you want to report a crime. Most people don't know the number. They'll be like, oh, it's something 3 something. No one remembers the number. It's actually 385-5555. So I actually found for Henderson Police, basically the area code was like 267. So they happened to have 267 drug. So as a vanity, so I would go around Henderson doing community policing, saying, "Hey, if you know about anyone selling drugs, call 267 drug." It was an easy number to remember. So I would be like, "What's the number?" Everybody like 267 drug. So I was trying to like brand and marketing, even just a phone number to basically get tips coming in. But I was doing marketing.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if you know, it's all throughout the United States. There's a neighborhood watch sign. It's called Boris the Burglar. It's like an old sign from 1975. Probably Ronald Reagan came up with it. Long story short, in Henderson, I came up with my own sign. I wanted to be different. So it was like a red and black sign that would stand out more because people just don't care about signs. I mean, most criminals are basically like, oh, wait, there's a neighborhood watch sign. Let's go another block. You know, it just doesn't happen. But I did create the sign. I created a lot of marketing of the DARE program. I made the DREAMS program. So I've always been doing marketing. I love marketing. But I think my wife thinks I'm nuts because every time I come up with something, she's like, that's crazy. It's not going to work. Like, what are you doing? Stop wasting your time, you know? But the problem is what's good if you have 100 different ideas, hopefully one of them works.
And that's the whole thing. So if you're a creative person like yourself, you don't have one idea. You have a million of them.
Right.
And the thing is, you don't know which one's going to take off. And that's the whole point of always, like, I got notes and notes and notes that's connected to all my computers, all my data, because there's ideas coming all the time, anywhere, at any moment, it could just pop, and you just never know. And when you have that opportunity to be like, oh, that applies to that campaign, you know, like I think I had a few campaigns in my notebook way before when an opportunity came, like, hey, we're trying to do this campaign. What do you got? And it's like, I could look through my notes and be like, oh, let's try this one, you know? And they're like, that's the one. And then next thing you know, it's like global.
So. And it works. Yeah.
DJ, let's just jump into you and then we'll start talking about more marketing and businesses. DJ, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Texas. Actually, I grew up on a farm and did the whole thing, all the stereotypical rode your horse to school.
Were you DJ Farmer then?
I spun a couple discs every once in a while.
Okay.
They were plow discs, but you know nobody listened to music. So
what part of Texas?
West Central area. So like Fort Worth, and then I grew up in a small farm town like 3.5 hours west.
When you say west, is that also like Waco? Or is that northwest?
Waco is considered East Texas to us. Texas? Yeah, we're that far
East
west.
from you?
East from me.
Got it, okay.
Yep, that's where all the city people live. So
they had a population in their town of like 300 people.
Oh yeah, we didn't have a stoplight. So yeah, there, you know, it's so funny that you're talking about the skateboarding videos because I was kind of the same way, except you know it was like little point and shoot cameras. So. But yeah, same thing, shooting friends with skateboarding and shooting videos of them and everything. And just really didn't see, like, where I grew up, it really wasn't a career option. It was more of like, that's a cool hobby that you do, but like, what else are you going to do for work? So I didn't know what I wanted to do long term, but I knew that I wanted to incorporate creativity somehow. So after I graduated college in 2009, I actually moved to California and was pursuing a master's degree. So I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. And while I was doing that, I actually met John. That's where I met John, was in
needed counseling, right?
Yeah. I was like sitting there in the couch. I was like, let me just tell you about
just to use a counselor right
tell you
now.
about these clients, man.
It was a workshop that he was actually putting on. And I remember kind of rolling my eyes at it the first time, but my wife kind of pushed me to go.
What was the seminar about? It was about marketing?
It was sound.
Social media. Oh, sound.
Sound,
it was a trifecta. It was like sound, social media, and
like photography and video and stuff. And I mean, I had worked in college as a photographer's apprentice. Like I'd done wedding photography and shooting videos and stuff. And so I was like, there's no way I'm going to go to some dude's seminar that he's like putting on for free. How good can this guy actually be? You know, so.
Little did he know I tanked.
Right, yeah, no.
It's funny because I always believe in free seminars because I feel actually you learn a lot. And then eventually there's always an upsell or something. But to me, the more people you meet, the more ideas. Or you know, one thing, like even you just said something before I wrote, or even you hear things like you said, organic marketing or paid. Like we know it, but like when someone says it, it like becomes a little bit more clear.
Yeah,
like organic or paid, and
well, yeah. Keep in mind, I didn't know anything about this world. Right.
So you watch this good-looking Filipino guy that's not a Filipino nurse talk about this stuff,
and I immediately was like, this dude's scary looking. He walks in, cut off sleeve jean jacket, whatever. I was like, this guy's gonna beat somebody up, not teach me how to shoot photos. So it was so funny because I think about 5 minutes into our conversation, I was like, tell me everything, because all the things you're doing, I want to do. I was going to grad school, I was learning about human behavior and concepts and people, but how to find that mesh point between that creativity and that human behavior part. That was the part that I was really searching for. So so what I usually tell people is like 5 minutes turned into me never leaving him alone ever again. So that was kind of where we met. And then
sounds like he became a stalking police report.
Yeah. In fact, it grew. The relationship grew so much that he was actually one of my groomsmen at my wedding.
Yeah.
Right. From that point. So.
Yeah, and everybody there was like, "Man, we got all these years with John. What's your story?" Like,
I was sitting in the seminar. He told me I should join.
Yeah, exactly. So, so the entire time I was going to grad school, I was also shooting music videos and creating stuff with John, and all the while trying to still find that mesh point of like, where does creativity and where does psychology kind of intermingle? And so we found this space with building these brands, creating content, but it's also looking at human behavior and what do people respond to. And so it cuts a lot of the BS out of content that people are making, or it cuts a lot of just
marketing
fakeness.
Is really psychological,
right? Absolutely.
Right? When you think about it, because it's like, why do people buy? What drives their marketing, their purchase decisions and all that stuff? And
so I mean, and it all translates. So I mean, I'm naturally a creative. We're both naturally creatives, but then I have this expertise in human behavior that we bring to the table that is so unique to us that not a lot of people have or have very much experience with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. So basically, how long have you been with the company?
So from the jump, I mean,
so how long has it been total?
So it hasn't even been a year yet, because I mean, although I've personally spent time 15 and 16 years in this industry, during the pandemic, I had left the agency world and I was like, I really want to pursue something that I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about the industry leaders and bringing awareness to why they need to be putting more content out there in the world, and why it's really important for them to actually step out of the ivory tower that they live in and start getting on podcasts, start getting out there, building their IG, building their LinkedIn, building YouTube, and why it's selfish of them if they're not sharing what they know with the world, because they could create a lot of impact for those and really teach people how to build a successful business, or how to, do whatever that passion is. They don't have to be a superhero or save the world, but they can share what they know about their industry. They don't know everything, but they could share what they've learned. And for me, I think our mission in life is to help, business owners, CEOs, people that have a message and a mission, align them with how they can create and build their brand and grow their brand to share the world what they're passionate about and why they care about waking up every single morning and doing what they do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the goal is, as long as you're passionate about something, you keep doing every day you're doing something, like, I've actually been doing the Problem Solver, basically podcast since February. Yeah. And basically every day I'm working on different things, and, phone calls come in, or I'm constantly working on it. So I think you have to be passionate about it. I mean, I enjoy helping people. Yeah. I like actually being on the show. You mentioned podcasts in general, because it's kind of a new trending thing. I don't even know in general, like, where it started, but what's your thoughts? Why is podcast important today? Like, if I have a dry cleaner,
I love that question.
If I have a dry cleaner, I'm a dry cleaner in a storefront. Do I need to start doing podcasts?
Absolutely. Let me tell you why. Because this is something that we debate with people all the time, and we always say, if you're gonna do any marketing, start with podcasting.
Really?
Yeah, and
I'm glad I'm in the right place. Yeah, sticking my studio over here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Again, podcasting started not a long time ago, probably under a decade ago. But when the iPod came out, you could download podcasts. There was about probably 500 podcasts out there in 2011 or whatever. And it was very unsaturated because no one knew how to launch a podcast. No one knew what audio was going to bring to the table, right? And people could consume audio on their drive to work. They could consume it at the gym. They could consume it when they're cleaning, right? And they don't have to think about, watching a video or doing anything. They're just like listen. In the ears, and they're being influenced because podcasts actually stem from radio, right? So like you just turn on the radio, but you listen to something entertaining that you're really interested in. But now you have on demand. Like, who do you want to listen to? What do you want to listen to? You can choose and pick. You could be the DJ of your life, right? When you listen to or subscribe to a podcast. So we believe in the power of podcasting, and we believe that should be the first thing that you want to try to do when you're trying to figure out your marketing plan, because from that podcast, you get to exercise your authenticity and your authority in the space that you love to talk about. Like, if I asked you, hey, for 3 hours without any notes, what's one topic you could talk about for 3 hours straight with no notes? that's what you should be doing.
Right.
And
talking about what you know and
talk about what you know. Talk about what
Okay.
you know. And the thing is, when you talk about what you know, you start attracting the people that love the same thing, right? And you don't have to reach everybody, because if you try to, you're going to reach nobody, right? But we believe at EBG that you should start a podcast, even if you're in a really saturated niche or an unsaturated niche, doesn't matter. And a niche is basically a vertical that you serve in. So if it's laundry or dry cleaning or anything like that, you should start a podcast, because you will be first to the market. So think of online or podcasting as a digital desert of real estate, right? So if you have digital real estate and you're like, what dry cleaners would have a podcast? Like, what would you even talk about if you owned a dry cleaning business? Right? Well, you talk about a lot of things. You'd probably talk about fabrics and quality and why, what type of material or chemicals or stuff not to use or avoid. Who would you have on your podcast? Would it just be you? Would it be you giving information or teaching? Like, there's so many different verticals when it comes to podcasts. It could be interview podcasts. It could be storytelling podcasts. There is podcasts that people just pick up their favorite books and start reading. They have crime podcasts. They have all types of podcasts. But the reason why we want to start there is because it is the simplest way to create content consistently every single week. And from there, you could chop that up into micro content that you could spread out online and create an omnipresence. I
was about to say that you sound like my mentor here, the engineer here.
And this is nothing.
This is the same thing. So
this is nothing new, right?
Yeah. It's interesting to always hear like a different perspective. Or it's actually the same perspective. But again, the smoke clears a little bit. You hear it again, and again, you're like, all right, maybe. I like actually what you just said, digital real estate. Yeah. Because I happen like real estate. Yeah. But basically, you are creating real estate because it's out there. And
like if you own it, like if you are the only dry cleaning podcast, well, guess what? People are gonna like here's the thing why we always talk about podcasting, because from there you can create micro content that can create discoverability. And when you put your podcast on Spotify and all that, you probably get like 100 listeners. Let's say you get 100 listeners, right? If you put it on one platform, but if you put it on two platforms, Spotify and iTunes, well, you might get 200 listeners. If you put it on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, 300 listeners. Let's just say you take that and you made a video, you put it on YouTube. Guess what? That's going to exponentially grow. And the thing about YouTube is that Google owns YouTube, so you're going to be ranking on Google and YouTube both, because they're the two top most searched websites in the whole entire world. So if you have a podcast in dry cleaning and someone types in best dry cleaning solutions for blah blah blah, and whose video pops up first,
organic content will pop up. Right?
That's what we're talking about, organic driven content. When we talked about organic and paid, you could either go organic and paid. Organic has to do about searchability and discoverability. And there's lots of strategies and different ways for that too.
For sure.
Travis, if you don't mind, Jim, I'm going to throw him into this conversation if you don't mind.
All right, yeah, sure. What's in here, man?
What's up, Travis?
Hi, how's it going?
So Travis basically, helps me on a weekly basis to get the problem solver out there. And I'm busy running around all the time, so he's helping me out. So can you explain the Libsyn? Am I saying it right? I always say it wrong.
It's a Libsyn
podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast hosting.
Explain where the problem solver is going, and maybe John can maybe add a point, or maybe we got all the points.
Yeah, I mean, he hit it right on the head. So our goal is to distribute your podcast to as many places as possible, because 10 views from every place combines and you get a completely different audience. So he's right on the head. If you go to Spotify, you go to YouTube, and you go to Libsyn, which then brings it to either directly RSS feeds on people's platforms, or they go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. The more exposure you have, the more likely you'll be seen, because there's people who only use Google Podcasts. There's people who only use Apple Podcasts.
And if you're listening, write this down. Compound effect.
Exactly.
Of content. The compound effect, when you have one thing that you created once that is creating viewership or audioship or listeners in perpetuity forever.
Right.
You don't have to make that video again. You just made it once. Like, the time that we have now is very limited, but the content that you create from this and you redistribute it on multiple platforms, people will discover in 5 years and be like, oh, I saw this video that you were on. I'm like, oh, that was like 5 years ago. And then you became a subscriber, and now like this. So compounding effect of content is really key when you're trying to build a brand. And the reason why we do push podcasts is because it's SEO friendly too. You could take that content and make it into blogs. You could make it into content for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook.
And it's way less competitive than YouTube, right? Like the amount of people that are creating podcasts consistently versus the amount of people that are creating just YouTube content, it's a fraction. So
to that point, for instance, YouTube has over 600 million. 600 million daily active users. Podcasting has only they're reaching about 600,000 active podcast shows. Only 13% of those podcast shows are actually listenable. Meaning like audio quality, they actually have some content.
Like have a point, beginning, middle, and end, all that kind of thing.
So think about that. There's over 500 million and growing YouTube. Like it's just a saturated. When we talk about digital real estate, this is the gold rush of digital real estate. Podcasting is, you know what I'm saying? And it's so easier because of technology and to do this from your home or from whatever. To run a podcast is that. There's apps on your phone that you could just record a podcast on your phone and distribute it all over the world to millions of people, like in less than an hour, right? And then it just does it for you, and now you're syndicated across the board on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, Google Play, iHeartRadio, like all these distribution because of one RSS feed that you plug in and play, and you just set it up and it just goes automatically and it's distributed. And you add video to that. And photos and audiograms are like, holy cow, like you could literally take over the internet and shut it down if you wanted to.
Real quick.
So the bottom line is, as long as you're creating content on a weekly basis, whether you chop it up in minutes, whatever like that, you have different content. Any business, basically, whether it's a dry cleaner or a laundromat, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the goal is basically to be passionate and to be educating people basically about what you do. And I guess with that and time, people will come and listen, and even if it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, they get to know you. Yeah. They look at your location, right? So I mean, I do like the fact where you're saying digital real estate.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something?
Oh no. I was just saying. I mean, the shift or whether one of the challenges that people come to us with that. So take dry cleaning for instance, right? They say, well, I mean, isn't it just enough to have kind of a Yelp page and a nice website and just be easy to find and all that kind of thing? And to an extent, yes, right? So where we really push is like the reason you want to make that content is it's not just about the laundromat, it's about the person building the
person have literally two laundromat dry cleaners in the same, like next door to each other. One's going to thrive even more because they have a different story than the next person. They do the same thing. You could have two Starbucks next to each other, but you're going to pick your favorite one because of why your favorite barista's there or whatever, someone that or like it's the know, like, and trustability that you create with your brand. And it's you continuing to tell your story always and often and that's the competitive differentiation. And the thing is, you as a brand or a company, like the future of marketing is this. You got to become a media company. If you own a business in today's world, in 2021, you have to become a media company. What does that mean? Do I got to buy all this fancy equipment and No, this right here is just enough. Get on TikTok, get on Instagram and showcase it. Like, why do I have to do that? It's because the more content you put out there, the more people can have an opportunity to discover you and who you are and what you care about the most to create connectivity, because it's not about B2B or B2C nowadays, business to business or business to consumer. It's about H to H, which is human to human. How do you create a human to human experience? And the easiest and fastest way to do that is through content and value driven, whether it's educational, entertaining, value driven, personality based. It's about human to human connectivity. And that's something that we share with our clients and folks every single day. And how important that is, because it's your story and it's about your message. And why did you get into the dry cleaning business is a great question, right? So what wakes you up every morning? What do you care about? Why do you dry cleaning? If they could tell that story, maybe they're like, oh man, this is a family owned business. I've been doing this for this long. I know everything about dry cleaning. Right. I'm like, oh, I want to go to you if top of mind if I want to get my stuff dry cleaned. Sure. Then Joe Schmo, over at the next dry cleaners, because we built that relationship. I would never know that if you never told me your story. So
it's interesting. I was just thinking as you're talking. I mean, I love all the stuff you're saying because it's different. H and H. I like that. We see people say B2B or B to consumer. I like H to H. Yeah. Value, personality, your story, your message. It's funny because I think the same thing. Like I feel like I have value. I feel like I have a personality. I feel like I share my story.
You do.
And it's interesting because the other day there was a woman I felt really bad. She was on Facebook and she went live. And I know her. She was a rideshare driver. And then basically I think she lost her car. Maybe someone passed away. Yeah. And I guess some people picked on her at a bus and she was crying, but she was live on Facebook. Yeah. And I texted her. I said, by the way, you're going to be okay. Be strong. I messaged her because I saw it and I felt bad. She's a very nice woman. And she wrote back to me. She's like, Dave, thank you so much. I just had an event, and I love how you're always trying to solve people's problems and help people. And I really appreciate it. I said, look, let's meet for coffee, and I really do care, you know what I'm saying? And I feel bad. I'm like, look, life isn't easy. You got to be strong. You'll get through it. You're alive. You're breathing. So I always want to help one way. That's why I like hooking with different nonprofits. Yeah. That's why we're doing an event tonight for American Cancer Society. That's awesome. But I like, to me, super cool. The more nonprofits I deal with, right? Even though yes, I'm trying to get business and so on, but I like creating relationships, and then it's cool to connect people. Like the other day, there's a girl that I know, she put on Facebook that she was doing something, I don't know, with the Marines or something, but she had 150 meals, that she basically would go in the garbage. Yeah. So I worked with someone from Project for Humanity who happened to be on the show, got to know her more. And basically, I did a group text. I said, look, she's got 150 meals. She's like, oh, I'll go pick it up. So she goes to pick it up and she starts distributing, among downtown Vegas. Wow. But what was amazing is that I didn't have to go and hand out 5 meals or 10 meals, or, I made the connection to make that happen. So I feel good. Yeah. I feel good that day when we talk about, it's interesting what you said as well. You said, I'm taking notes here with you. When you said in between the death date, when you create impact, I created impact that day by just a group text message because I know a lot of people. Yeah. And I really like that you said that about creating impact like that way. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things that we say is like you're only one piece of content away from your whole life changing, right? So that's either your life or someone else's life, and that's the biggest difference, right? Is getting started. So.
Yeah, that's so true.
By the way, it's funny when you say death date. Did you see the TV show Manifest?
Yeah,
have you seen it?
I did.
I haven't seen it.
It's so funny.
I like those shows.
I'm kind of, it's kind of interesting because you start talking about death date. They talk about he said death date. I think that's what they talk about in Manifest, the show.
Yeah.
They talk about your death date. Because it could be 6 months from now, a year from now.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard anyone say your death date.
Yeah.
So I watch it a lot. Manifest, it's like a calling. You watch it all?
Yeah. I've watched it.
You watched all the seasons?
I haven't watched all the seasons.
Because another season come out, but it's really interesting because it's about a call. You always get these callings if you're on this airplane and they manifest. But when you start saying death date, I almost felt like I was in the movie. That
like,
the biggest advice I ever had in my life was one piece of content Gary Vaynerchuk had made, and he said, hey, I would love like some business advice or like some life advice. And he told this guy, he was in a taxi cab telling him, right outside of him, he's like, you're gonna die.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Right, you saw that one, right?
And she was like, it was a girl. She's like, what?
Oh yeah.
She's like,
you're gonna die.
You're going to die. Right?
Like, give me some great information.
And that resonated with me so much because in my teen years, as I was the full story, obviously it's just way too long to share it, but I was adopted as a baby, and I was trying to figure life out, figuring out what purpose was for my life. So like I found purpose in creativity and bringing creativity to life and being like, oh my gosh, I thought of it, and then here it is. I thought of this video to make, and boom, there it is. Creating things out of nothing, manifesting what you're saying, and I was struggling really hard when I was a teen, when I was like 15, 16 in high school, and I was attempted suicide 3 times, failed. Obviously, I'm here now, but the whole idea was that shook my world of, you're going to die. What are you going to do with that dash in between your birthday and your death date? Mm-hmm. And the reason why we do what we do and is to build relationships and to create impact, because you can't take anything with you, right? But what you do is going to last eternity, right? What you do and what impact you create here and now is going to affect businesses and people's livelihoods and all those things. So I feel like it is our responsibility of what we know to help businesses, business leaders to understand, you have got to get this. You have got to create content. You have got to get this and ingrain this in your head and execute on it, because it is a future. Right. And if I knew that there was a bus coming to you and saying like, hey, the future of business is personal and putting out more content out there. If you don't do that, then your business is going to struggle really hard and it's going to be tough. Right. If I knew that bus was coming to hit you, my job is to be like, there's a bus coming to hit you. You should get out the way. Right. Or it would be irresponsible of me if I said, hey, that bus is coming, and then do nothing. Right, that show my character and be like, oh, I'm a terrible human being. So for us, and what we've done with executive brand growth is making sure that we are amplifying the message of, this is what you need to be doing today, and this is how. And we've learned those things over the past 15, 16 years of being in this industry. And the thing is, marketing is always changing. So if you have a marketing expert saying, you got to do this and do this, do this, I would just run, because it's always changing and evolving.
Every week it's changing.
Every single week. Yeah. And the thing is, it's a tool. It's a tool for to communicate what you love and what you do and who you are and who you want to help. right? And it's just a tool, and it's always going to change. So the more you can use it, the more you can reach more people. But that's basically who we are and what we do.
It's interesting you mentioned that you have to be a media company first before you do any other company, which is very interesting because I work with a lot of lawyers and they owe a lot of money for basically they're going to law school. None of them really know business. None of them know media. None of them know marketing. Yeah. And a lot of times I get these phone calls from different local TV and they're like, hey, we need someone to talk about this dog bite situation. Can you have a lawyer be ready at 4:30? And then I asked the lawyer, and like, can we do it Saturday? Can we do this like Monday? I don't have my suit. I'm not dressed. I'm really not prepared, And like, no, like the way media works is it's like you're available anytime. Like if someone called me right now, like they have tea, like where do I go? Where should I go? Where should I speak?
Yeah.
Like
tell me where.
Yeah, like I'm just going. Like you just go, and then you're lucky
ready.
you're on. Recently, actually, someone told me that some people were saying I'm on TV a lot, And they're like, how's he doing? How's he doing? And someone actually said, a friend of mine said, he goes, it's called marketing. You put yourself out there. You tell people you want to do it. I mean, there's different ways of doing it, right? But the bottom line is, luckily, I've been on TV as like an expert, being a retired cop, and going through like these different police scenarios. So recently I got a few, and then I have a few now that I can go market. I can go share that with other news reporters and say, hey, if you need me, I'm available. But I fully am available. I'm not like, can we do it next week on 2 o'clock?
Call me today.
Let me go color my hair first before, But people don't realize that, a lot of lawyers, a lot of people just don't know marketing. They don't know business. Right, But you could be a lawyer. You could be the most smartest person in the world. And I'm not sure if you've checked as well. It's really, this guy does a great job. I don't know how he does it, if he pays people, but there's a guy on TikTok. It's Law by Mike.
Okay. I don't think I follow him.
You got to tell it's like unbelievable stuff he makes. I mean, I've never really had a conversation with anybody with marketing, like how he's doing with TikTok.
Sure.
Like, does he have actually a film crew that does it? I mean, he's awesome. Like he'll take glasses and he'll put the glasses out, and then he turns into like a police officer and he's talking about the law. He's like very engagement. Looks like a smart guy from Duke University, but he got the marketing play. Like he knows he's doing a really good job.
It's entertaining and it's valuable.
It's very entertaining. People see it. You're learning from you, educating, creating value. So I mean, it's hard to come up with content and do it all in general, but I constantly every day try to exceed and also share with other people. Even like a perfect example, a girl Maria that I'm friends with does real estate. She's got a billboard, and it's like Maria, but it's like this whole website thing. Like it's crazy. It's like
no one's gonna stop and be like driving by like, oh, what was that?
Yeah, let's write that down.
So I'm like, I go into GoDaddy and I quickly look and I do like Maria. I think her name is Maria P. MariaP.com. Not that it's the best one, but I call Maria.Vegas. Which is better than some crazy thing I can remember.
Niche,
I'm like, you need to change that. And I'm always looking at marketing, and then I share. Here's a good question for you. So at least from my marketing perspective, if I had a business idea, I normally think of two things like right away. Like let's say you came up with the idea. Let's say we were talking about a new drink or something. What are the two things that you think of? It'll be interesting to see. Like
I'm excited. Yeah.
Let's make it 3. So let's just say there's a new CocaCola drink. What would you come up with this idea? What are the 3 things that you think right away to like save it or reserve it? Like what do you do?
So your question is if Coca-Cola is coming out with a new drink.
Well, let's say your own company, like
or for our own company.
You have an idea.
All right.
What are the first 3 things that you think of to do, like business or marketing? What would you do?
So first, I need ownership.
Okay.
So I need to own the land, right? We need to own the space. So that means we need to own the names. We need to own the
domain names,
but not just that.
I have like literally like about 150 domain names I pay for every single year.
Oh yeah,
they're just sitting there.
It's a running joke within EBG that every time we get a new client or every time we have like a goal that we meet, we buy a new URL. Just because we have,
That's one of mine.
Yeah. So ownership. So that's not just the domain names. That's all the social media platforms as well. So you have to own that name. The second thing is having a good strategy. So you can be creating content, but if you don't have a strategy, you're not talking to anybody. You're just spraying and praying and hoping that everything works out. So, and these people when you see them, or these brands whenever you see them. It's like there's no cohesiveness. There's a post about one thing, maybe their niche, and then there's another post that's like, look at my grandkids, and you're like, I don't understand what this is
does nothing for me.
Right, exactly. So so you have a strategy, and that strategy ties into the type of content that you're going to make. So the first 3 things that I would do is ownership, strategy, then map out your content for the next 3 months.
I agree 1,000%. I would add one more to that, and that'll be like my third. It would be hyper prototyping.
Yeah.
Hyper prototyping is like if you have an idea, you want to hyper prototype something because you got to do it within a small amount of time frame with the lowest budget possible that you could just, figure out if it's going to work or not. and you got to test it out and have some social proof behind it. And if the beauty of hyperprotein typing is it's not a long enough engagement for me to fall in love with the idea, where I'm just like, no, like I'm just so attached, you know, like, so you don't fall in love when you're in hyper prototype mode. You're like, okay, is this concept going to work? And like, what is the budget I'm allocating to that to see it come out, to have the right outcomes? And if the KPIs are right, which is key performing indicators, if we set those up and be like, oh, if this is a good idea or not, you know, then you could invest more into it, more time and energy and effort. But like, as a creative, like my wife will tell you, I have a million ideas, and she's like, we have a running joke in our family, in our house, where it's like, John's an astronaut, right, in outer space, and my wife is ground control. And like, you know, she even got me for Christmas an astronaut helmet and stuff. It was just great. So like, the running joke is like, I'm up here just dreaming and all those things, and she's like holding on to these balloons and like saying like, okay, which balloon am I going to hold, or which one am I going to let go? Are those just ideas? And it's like, whoa, let's just hyper prototype some of these ideas. Which ones are, and where can we place those? Maybe there's different brands that we could put those under that we have access to, or, you know, again, it's the idea desert. We call that like the dream desert, the idea desert, where you put in your ideas, and if something connects or you have this spark and you're like, I really want to pursue that, because it's the time. A lot of it's timing, right? I have ideas that are not ready yet, right?
Same here,
right? For the time that we live in.
But here's a question: do you like? So I'll share one of like, I'm big into legal marketing brands. So I have one where so if I have the idea, which I'll share with you the name and so on, what I think of. But do you ever reserve an LLC? Because in this state, you can reserve an LLC for 90 days. And I think it's $25, and every 90 days you can reserve it again. Or do you just straight up get the LLC, but then you have to pay like the taxes, you have to do all that stuff.
Reserve it and then own it. You got to own something, because if you could sell it to
reserve
somebody,
the LLC, get the domain. Okay, good.
You got those two things: LLC, reserve the LLC, get the domain, get all the social platforms.
Because the social platforms are
because
free.
it has to be a package. It's almost like a franchise. You know what I mean? So like,
So you mean like Instagram,
all
Facebook,
of it, all the handles, all the handles.
Okay, that's a good one.
All of them.
All that.
Because if you have all those, then you could say to someone, maybe it's their idea. Oh, I wish there was a thing, and you're like, boy, do I have something to sell to you, right? So sometimes like, we don't want to run the thing. We just love being the ideator of the thing, right?
Same here.
Yeah.
So like, I have lots of things that I was able to sell just because I'm like, people are like, oh, I wish there was a thing. I was like, oh, cool. Like, I have the domain. I'll sell it to you for $20,000. They're like, okay. So like, you know what I mean? So
got it.
that thing.
I'll share with you. So basically, out here in this state, there's like, we have here, is it Law Tigers, which is basically like a franchise in regards to like legal. And basically, so, you know, I was looking like for, you know, a different type of brand, and I actually came up with, which I did get all the handles and all that stuff. And but what I think of is, I always think of the domain, but I always think of vanity numbers. And maybe it's a little bit old school, because I've been doing that since I'm 18. I'm 45 now. But if I can get the number with the domain, you know, so actually what I have is, so I'll share it with you. Tell me what you think. Okay. So actually, I have Ride or Die.
Terrible.
Right. So I have Ride or Die Injury Lawyers.
Okay.
And then I have like, so I get all the platform, all the domains, like Ride or Die Legal, Ride or Die Injury Lawyers, Ride or Die Injury Attorneys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have the phone number 1-844 Ride or Die. So I have all the platforms, and basically it's a motorcycle division of legal marketing. And then everyone likes, oh, he's my Ride or Die, you know, and everyone talks about Ride or Die. I think it'd be a cool concept on shirts and clothing and branding.
For sure.
It doesn't exist. So I basically got all the domains, which, you know, luckily these days, right, if you can get a domain that's $13, I mean, I paid more money for other ones, but I'm fortunate that it's available. I'm also fortunate the numbers available. So I'm always looking for numbers, vanity numbers that match, because I think that the brand basically, it fits the brand, and it's like social proof that basically that you should quote them, you know, even if you're brand new or old. So I always like, you know, I always think of domain and phone number first, and then I guess reserving the LLC. But that's a good one in regards to all of the handles. In regards to, again, what is it?
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok.
Well, I would recommend creating a checklist whenever you have an idea. Okay. Make a checklist of ownership, right? And say, hey, I'm just gonna purchase. I'm gonna hold the LLC. I'm gonna hold the vanity number. I'm gonna hold the website. I'm gonna hold all the socials. I'm gonna hold emails too. You know, because sometimes emails like just really as important. But I would create a list and be like, whenever you have an idea, check on it, and if it's available, own it because you are first to real estate. That is digital real estate. That is real estate that people, it's for free. Like the ideas part, but like, you know, do the work.
And the social media part's free too.
So question for you. So when you say digital real estate in regards to the email, if you get the domain name, you could always get that email.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Domain, right? So
but sometimes like I always get like a Gmail because, you know, it's just like, oh, I have the Gmail.
You never know.
You just never know.
Does it look unprofessional just at the Gmail? Because I've had people say you need to get rid of the Gmail.
It doesn't matter, but
It's
to
good to
have it, because like if someone else had it, like the whole thing about ideas is possession, right? Because I have the Gmail account, no one else can have it. I'm never going to use the Gmail account, by the way, right? But I own it. So no one else could actually have it and start their own Gmail and go off frolicking like they're me,
to play with it.
right? Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's just you have to have possession over ideas and collect as much real estate as you can.
What about, so you come up with this ride or die, right? Do I get ride or die legal, ride or die legal, and then it's a .com, and then there's .us, and then there's .net. Do you start getting the other ones too?
I would just
Because the
do
other day I was
.com.
talking to a lawyer, and he's like, you need to get the .net. You need to get the
You're just,
USA. Like he's like, you need to cover yourself if someone else tries to steal.
So
it.
No matter, I was gonna say something.
No, it's always fun. It's always fun because there's a million ways to skin a cat, right? So it's always fun to hear other people's perspectives for sure. But our or at least my approach strategically is like, am I going to remember a .us? Am I going to remember a what, you know, fill in the blank?
But not only that, I think about like if Coca-Cola, because you had mentioned Coca-Cola, if they owned CocaCola.com, if you came out and got CocaCola.net, who do you think, like when someone go to
for our millennial brains, that's a red flag to us.
I'm like, wait, that's not the actual. That's not the verified. So again, when you come up with a brand, you know, you think about verification. Oh, that's the official, right? Ride or die. And then like everybody else are imitators, which is great, you know. But like I wouldn't even bother with .net and all those things. I would bother with .vegas if it's locally.
Right.
So I would get .com and .vegas and like just focus on those, because when you do build a brand, people will be like, oh, that's not the official one. I got to go to the official one, which is the .com. The .com is like the official verified.
It's like social proof in its own world.
It's social
Yeah,
proof.
and
Right,
it's SE, it's search engine optimization, right? So if you're a .com, you're the first one up on Google, and then everyone has already by habit one, they're Googling you, two, they're looking at YouTube, and then three, they're trying to figure out if they can find you on social media, right? So it's just showing up where people are and narrowing in your focus on where the people are, not where you're you're not. Collecting all the URLs is, to me, is kind of and this might feel extreme to others, but it's a play to not lose rather than a play to win.
Got it.
I would also consider.
He's like, wait.
Hold on. Before we close that chapter, I would also consider when you do purchase something like a ride or die, like there's a long name and then there's a .com. I would also purchase shortened names, or like, you know, things that other people would think about when they type it in Google. Right, and then I would repoint that domain back to the main domain.
Right.
You know, so like for us, we have executivebrandgrowth.com, but we also have like, you know, brandgrowthmethod.com. We have a bunch of other things that people would search, you know, to create searchability,
like a direct SEO search domain.
So what would
I like those two.
If people would like, let's say you get ride or die, you know, that domain, what other names would be associated around that? I would also think about purchasing those instead of .nets or .cos or whatever.
Yeah. Variations of the direct SEO.
Exactly.
I'm big into that too. So let's just we have maybe about 10, 12 minutes left. For different businesses that are basically trying to get back in the game in regards to whether storefront or whatever, throw some different marketing ideas. I think we talked a lot of good stuff. I mean, I think the goal is, if you have ideas or if you have a business, you know, doing the digital real estate, doing the podcast, doing organic content, you know, going on all these different things, changing weekly, whether you have a coach or someone helping you. Luckily here at Sticky Paws, locally here in Vegas, basically, they're always helping people create content. They have this great studios we're in, and basically working to basically help people. What other things do you want to throw out? Like, we got a wall here, you know, what else? What other things should we do? Again, we'll go back to the dry cleaner. Like, I'm a dry cleaner.
Yeah.
Fine, now you say podcast, website, domains, SEO, direct. What are the things? We say H to H, right? Events, different things. What else would you do right now? And is there anything different and creative? I'm always looking for what pops. You know, what's different these days? What should someone be doing? I always say, like, if you can make something go viral, it would be amazing. Not that it's so easy to do that.
Right.
drinking cranberry and going
on a longboard.
Skateboard. What else? What would you recommend? Let's throw some ideas out there to help people. No matter what, they're going to call you anyway to executive brand growth to basically get some help. And
absolutely,
I appreciate John and DJ sharing these things. But the bottom line is, like, most people, like, they just can't do it, and they need some help, like you guys.
One thing we haven't touched on, which is a big pillar of what we do, is competitive differentiation. So number one is doing research before you dive into marketing, right? So competitive researching. Who are your competitors in the market and what are they doing? I would start stalking them and be like, where are they hanging out? Where are they showing up? Are they online? What happens when you type them on Google? Are they on Yelp? What are people saying about them? What are the reviews? Because when you start figuring out who your competitors are that are in your industry, and you start figuring out what are they not doing, right? Or you figure out, like, maybe they have terrible reviews and, like, people are looking for a specific thing, which you could be like, oh, I could be the best at that, and my reviews will actually rank higher because I focus solely on serving those people that have these problems with these other competitors. Well, what if I just focus on that part of my business where I could please those clients or customers because this is where they fail. So when they have an experience with me, guess what? They're going to want to share that experience because they had a terrible one with my competitor, right? But you want to look for those competitive, like, those gaps, and figure out where can you close the gap and do a lot of research before you even start posting videos, or, like, man, because a lot of people would say, like, John, I just posted like 10 videos and I only got 3 likes. And, like, I'm just like, okay, first of all, patience.
Right. I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Actually.
The second thing, I think, we have a saying at EBG, and it's TLA. TLA all day. What does that mean? Test, learn, adapt.
Right.
Test, learn, adapt. You got to have a test, learn, adapt attitude when it comes to marketing and being able to build human-to-human relationships. Put stuff out there, test it, and then see the response you get back, and then adapt. Change your marketing campaign ideas. Like, you don't want to, like, again, that ties into hyper prototyping. You want to test something, learn from that, and then change it up. If you want to follow trends on TikTok, if you want to follow or own a hashtag, or, change things up. But again, you got to do the research, you got to be patient, and you got to give yourself a little time to adapt to the market.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that, patience is a huge thing, because we definitely get that a lot, or I hear that a lot of, I'm trying to follow all the TikTok or Instagram trends, but, like, nothing hits, right? And those trends move so fast, first of all. So you kind of have to be ahead of the wave in order to catch the wave, right? Yeah. But patience is a huge deal. And then with the competitive differentiation, one of the things that we stress is, first of all the audience, one thing that you can do today that you can look at, and this is applicable right now, is make 3 circles on a pad of paper. Think about what you like, what your audience likes, and then what are your what are the main topics in your industry. Yeah. Take those 3 things, do your research, fill those things out, and then you have your overlapping spaces where your voice is heard, your audience feedback is heard, and you are relevant in the industry, and you're speaking into the industry, and then you set yourself up as an authority.
That's a free one. We do that as an exercise with our clients.
Oh yeah, no, that we usually charge money for that. So.
Yeah, no, but when you do that, you can now find some cohesive alignment with what people are talking about. Again, and you got to find that middle part and do that research.
So I used to always say just layers of marketing, like building a cake, right? You got to constantly hit it every single day. Yeah. And do different things and build it and content and events.
Well, I mean, one of the key tips is consistency. If you're just showing up if you just show up, you're 50% there. All right.
I come here every single week. It's like a bad hobby.
It is. Right?
I'm hoping this kicks in eventually. Otherwise,
right.
My wife's like, "What are you doing at the gym? Or what are you at the problem solver? Like, what's that?"
Yeah. The thing that I love stressing is being obsessed with the process. So
obsessed with the process
because we think about the paint on the walls, right? Like, oh, the logo's gonna look like this, the website's gonna look like this. Here's my colors, and I marketed, right? And that is the paint on the walls. You haven't even built the house yet, right? So that strategy part and that patience part, that test learning and adapting, that is the building of the house.
That's the struggle,
right?
Yeah,
and in
that's
your
the hard part. That's the non-fun. That's the non-sexy stuff that businesses they don't want to do that work, right?
I always say every single week, like perfect example, like this month's American Cancer Society Breast Cancer Awareness Month. you know, you basically get involved in that, right? You do different events and things. You're helping people. You always should connect with different nonprofits that are helping people. You know, this week basically they got Halloween, then you got Veterans Day. Like you got to just stay with the times on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Sure.
Because otherwise, what else are you going to say? You can't keep saying, you know, come to my dry cleaner, you know? So you got to basically be different and creative. You can't keep always asking. You know, some people say you should ask for referrals, which is great, but you can't ask every single day.
Right.
You can't keep asking every week. I mean, you're lucky to ask once every quarter, you know, to basically somebody. And then to the average consumer, that sounds funny. Like, can you refer me some business?
Yeah.
You know, it seems a little weird. I think you have to, you know, build that relationship in general.
I mean, like in today's world, a lot of businesses that I've seen have used social media as a community billboard than a place to connect with people. And the thing is, if you're really, really great at what you do or sharing content or all those things, you wouldn't need to ask for a referral because they're going to be like talking about you. Right. So a lot of times I was just listening to Simon Sinek. I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Sinek. He's the one that wrote the book, like Start With Why. But he was talking about how like he was
always start with why.
Always start with why. And like he was dealing with a real estate agent and they were like getting to like this new house and all this stuff. The real estate agent was like, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it was an amazing experience. And he goes like, then he said, hey, can you refer me to whatever? And then he's like, I'm not now. Like, you know, because you like some people in today's world, which is, it shows like the attention that we have nowadays and like how crummy we are as people and human beings. But once someone asks for the referral, almost it does feel salesy enough, right? Where it's like, oh man, like I had a great experience and I was gonna tell like five of my closest friends about my experience until that ask came, and it's like, man, it gets a little.
Sometimes you shouldn't ask.
Sometimes you know it really depends, and it's about knowing your audience too, right? So if you know your audience, you know, you can create a better experience and like they don't even need to ask me like, hey, I would even say, hey, is it okay if I take a photo of us and post it on my social media? I love telling the story of my clients, whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, in fact, tag me. I want to share it. It's like, boom.
Yeah,
they're sharing it with their audience now because I want to make a more human experience for my clients, right? So
there's a florist in my town right now that they do this. So any holidays or you go in and first of all they do an intake. So they don't just want to know what kind of flowers you want, but who it's for, what kind of colors. They want to know about you, right? So there's that human connection. Picking up flowers is an experience as well because they've got a whole thing set up for like, oh, you can take a picture with it and it's for us, it's for you, we'll tag you in it and all this kind of thing. So then there's an association there. So you're interacting with your audience, and they made a fan out of me because I was like, I love the flowers and this is awesome. So
I mean, especially coming out
experience.
Out of the pandemic, retail stores are dying left and right.
Yes,
right?
they are.
Even the malls.
The future retail is going to be distribution centers. Like Amazon just opened one up down right here down the street. They're replacing Walmarts and Targets. Literally, Walmarts and Targets are just like to go there, look at the product, and then go on Amazon and be like, I got it for cheaper on Amazon. Right. It'll be here tomorrow, right? So like it's
basically people are it's easier in some regards. Like if I start looking at sneakers, I can go get 10 pairs of sneakers and then return them for free.
Right.
I mean, just with the swipe, everything's just a swipe.
So all that being said, it's like if you're not creating an experience in your business for your audience or for your potential, consumers or clients, then you're gonna get trapped in the noise and of this saturated market when other businesses are figuring out before you do of creating content and giving an experience for them that they actually care about their their clients or customers, right? And then you're gonna get outperformed, out experienced. And it's just like, if you run a business today, just wake up, because if you want to continue to run that business, you got to give an experience. And that doesn't mean also physically, like, whether you run a retail store or not, or a service, but it's also, you got to give it experience online. What are people showing up for, and making sure that you're providing that experience for them.
One last question, and then we're going to basically, you can give your information so if people, listeners and viewers want to call you for help and advice. Someone told me, did you work for Gary Vee?
Yeah, actually, he was one of my clients. I did, anytime they came out to Vegas, I was doing his photos.
You press record on it. Yeah.
I'd be pushing record on it for sure. But also, when we were helping our friends launch video influencers on YouTube, we went to a trip to New York to hang out with Gary Vee, and that was back in 2015, 16. But actually, our clients work with Gary Vee, and also hires me to do his content whenever he's out in Vegas.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have a surprise visit. I have Gary. No, I'm joking.
Let's go. What's up? V-Friends, let's go. NFT.
We look at the door like he's not coming.
Yeah.
All right, so
I
listen.
double check just to make sure.
He was like, oh, he's excited. All right, so give your information. I really appreciate you guys coming. I know when you guys back in town, it'd be great to maybe do like a part 2.
Yeah.
Because things are always
absolutely.
changing in general. Like, I think it's great information that we shared. I mean, I actually learned things back and forth. Like I said, I love doing this stuff in general.
Yeah.
Anything, share your phone numbers, your websites, all that stuff so people have it. And like I said, when you come back into town, we'll have you guys come back in again. We'll talk about whatever's trending that time. Hopefully this virus is going to go away and kind of things are a little bit more normal. It doesn't help the situation that basically, Amazon basically is taking over everything. Malls are going out of business. Storefronts are not doing well. You got a virus going on. No one wants to go out. Everyone's wearing masks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just changing times is kind of crazy.
It is.
Everything's online and Amazon.
Which should emphasize tell stories because, like, we're all starving for stories and human interactions. So
give up your information before we...
1-800-BRAND-GROWTH.
We got to get that.
Just go to www.executivebrandgrowth.com, and it's executive brand growth all across the board.
Yeah.
If you want to follow me, it's John Mediana, like me, Diana. Actually, media is in my last name, so I kind of feel like I was born to do
passion.
to this, right? So
passion in your name. I like
passion, my name. So John Mediana on Instagram and all over the board, Twitter, all that stuff. I hang out there a lot. And then executive brand growth everywhere. And then you can follow DJ if you want. If not, you could just follow me. That's cool.
Yeah, if you're down, just call me DJ is where I'm found on most platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram for the most part, but
Got it. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming here and basically sharing the information. Like I said, we'll have you back next time. Cool. I mean, I think it's great information that you gave, and I think people, if they listen to it maybe a few times, even myself, like I said, I think I just started saying this, the smoke kind of clearing a little bit. You hear it a few times, and you realize, all right, this is where it's at.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's digital real estate, and I just got to basically double down on it.
That's it. That's it.
But anyway, so I'm Dave Kohlmeier, the problem solver, again, having amazing people like DJ and John basically here, basically talking about, business and growth and marketing and the trends. And basically, I guess it's the new tomorrow in regards to marketing in general, but everyone basically has to start getting involved in more media if you can have any type of business, whether it's a dry cleaner or basically even a law firm, whatever it may be in general. So again, problemsolver.vegas. My number 702-400-7474. Any type of problem that can help you if you want to meet for any situation, coffee, come to your home, whatever problem that you have, I love to solve it. Cases that accident, injuries, arrested, anything illegal. We have the Las Vegas Legal Network, that basically the network of different lawyers helping people. So whatever I can do, again, I'm not an attorney. I'm basically sharing different resources, maybe giving some advice and suggestions. But the bottom line is I want to help people, in the community. I want to basically, pay it forward every single day. Again, I'm David Kohlmeier, the problem solver. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next week.